So these sexy beasts are the Winged Hussars, a Polish heavy cavalry unit that was one of the most feared and finest to grace the Renaissance battlefield. The Hussars knew one tactic in the midst of battle, and that was to charge, starting off in a loose formation at a slow gallop and then proceeding to gain speed, closing ranks before crashing into the enemy, and then doing it all over again until the enemy broke and fled. However, they did face a few problems in doing so. The age of the Hussar was the late 16th, early 17th century, and that was when the battlefield meta was pike and shot, which heavily countered cavalry. And while their loose formation charging at the start did minimise firearm casualties, they also devised an innovative lance to counter the pikemen. A knight's lance usually wouldn't be longer than the pike due to it being one-handed, and wielding giant members one-handed was rather difficult. However, the Winged Hussar's lance was hollow, now making it lighter, more robust somehow according to physics, and it could now reach lengths of up to 6 metres, which was longer than the average length of a pike of 5 metres. We get our first mention of the Hussars in around 1500 in Polish texts when they were just light cavalry of exiled Serbians. However, in 1576 when the Hungarian Stephen Báthory became king of Poland, he adopted Hungarian practices and made them the heavy cavalry unit that dominated the battlefield. As they're an elite military unit, it required an extremely high bar of military skill to enter, as well as the need to supply your own horse, which had to be the correct bred horse, and supply your own equipment. It meant that entry cost was extremely high, and these were only just well-off nobles from extremely wealthy families. The Hussars specifically bred Polish horses with those of Turkey to make them have extremely desirable traits, such as fearlessness in battle, being fast, manoeuvrable, and having extremely high stamina, and the cost of one of these horses was comparable to that of a whole village, and selling one abroad was punishable on pain of death. Their wings though is what made them unique to other cavalry units and how they got their name if you haven't guessed already. And these were made from feathers of birds attached to wooden frames and then attached to the rider and saddle, and there's a few different theories of why they were used. The main theory suggests that as the Hussar was charging, the wing would make an immense sound through the whistling of the wind and clattering with the rider, and thousands of Hussars charging, all this sound would be combined together, as well as the sound of all the horses in the cavalry charge, and this would immensely terrify the enemy, causing them to flee before the Hussars had even reached them. And the other more boring theory is that they were never actually used in battle and just for ceremonial purposes. The Hussars were said to be blessed in the eyes of God due to some of the victories they achieved, with the most famous one being the Siege of Vienna in 1683, with the Hussars taking part in the largest cavalry charge ever recorded in history with 18,000 cavalry. 3,000 of them were the Hussars, as they broke the Ottoman siege lines and saved Vienna. Their battlefield reign didn't last for too long though, as advancements in gunpowder literally blew them off the battlefield, as a Hussar charge was no match for a cannon. However, they still were largely used in ceremonial purposes until their disbandment in 1776.